that. Blessed you, Lord God, King of has kept us in life, sustained us, and allowed us to reach this special moment. Amen. We say amen. Amen. So now I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Mark Gottesman.
This is the chair of Elijah the prophet.
His head.
God said to Abraham, walk before me and be humble. Elijah not only comes at Seder time, but Elijah the prophet attends every single Brit Milah, and even the Moel asks for help, not only from our Sandak, who is the baby's great uncle, okay, but also from Elijah the prophet, who himself was a Moel. We stand ready to fulfill the mitzvah of carrying out covenantal circumcision as God has commanded. Now, the mitzvah, the commandment of circumcision, falls initially to the fathers, as Abraham circumcised Isaac at God's command, having first circumcised himself at age 99, a little bit younger, and then he circumcised Isaac a year later when Isaac was born at God's command, when Abraham was 100. The mitzvah falls on the father, but the father may designate somebody to stand in his stead. So Chris, I turn to you and say, are you going to do this mitzvah, or are you appointing me as your agent?
I'm appointing you.
That's not even on to watch.
He said that with certainty. Once again, we acknowledge Elijah's presence. Now, one might think that in patriarchal times, the mothers were freed of the obligation of Brit Milah. But actually not so, because we learn in the story of the burning bush that right afterwards they hastened, Moses and his family, to go to Egypt to confront Pharaoh, to tell him to let my people go. And in the book of Exodus it says it came to the encampment and an angel came to threaten their lives. We don't know why their lives were threatened, but we can make an assumption, because in the very next sentence it tells us that Moses' wife Zipporah took a rock and circumcised their son, and the angel withdrew from threatening them. So from this the rabbis learned several things. Number one, doing one mitzvah does not let you off the hook on doing other mitzvot. And number two, if the father is unwilling, unable, not present to do the Brit Milah, then the obligation falls onto the mother. So Sari, I turn to you and say, are you going to do this Brit Milah, or are you appointing me as your agent?
You can be my agent.
So we all now will participate in the mitzvah as we make the bracha. A bracha really needs to have an amen to count. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al hamilah.
Amen.
Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has commanded us on covenantal circumcision. Brit Milah has two parts to it. The first is the covenantal circumcision, but officially, notwithstanding the hospital registrar, he doesn't have his Hebrew name yet, and that, as we bandage him up, Rabbi Strauss will take over, and we will let him have his name.
Sounds good. Thank you. Let's give a nice round of applause to Dr. Gottesman. Thank God for Mark. And thank you, Dr. Gottesman, for doing the mitzvah for us today. The first blessing is over a glass of wine that represents our happiness. And in just a moment, Dylan will have an opportunity to have a sip from this wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddush yidei bibeten. V'hof et zoratzam v'etzav hatam ve'el pri kodesh. Al ken yizkar zot, echai chalkenu tzorenu, tzabel etzir yidot sharenu mishakat lamad rito asher sam v'sabrenu. Baruch atah Adonai koret tabri. Praise you Adonai, who again establishes the covenant here in Houston, Texas. And let us say, Amen. Amen. And now, before I have the blessing to pronounce his Hebrew name, I'm going to ask Sarah to speak for a few moments about the names they chose.
Sarah and I would first like to thank everyone for coming here today to celebrate the birth of Dylan Gray Kronzer. We'd like to thank Lisa for letting us use her house again. And Brian. And Brian. And also for both our mothers and Lisa, again, for help arranging all this. I look at Dylan now, and all those memories come back to me about when Sarah was pregnant and thinking, how could I love another child as much as I love Bennett? Or, how is this family dynamic going to work? Because it was working so well with the three of us. And what are we getting ourselves into? We could double team Bennett, but now we're each on our own. And what is it going to be like? But as soon as we first saw Dylan, we were in love, and all those worries went away. As much as I enjoy watching me and Sari love on him, watching Bennett love on him is even more precious. He's a great big brother. He dows kisses on him. He tickles his feet. He always soothes him in the middle of the night when he hears him crying. He says, "It's okay, baby," from his bed. He loves him so much. It's great watching him. We chose the name Dylan after my paternal grandmother, Dorothy Barfield Kronzer. Dorothy Barfield Kronzer, as Mamaw, as me and my brothers and cousins called her, was a great lady. Many wonderful traits, but the two traits that stand out that we really hope that Dylan inherits are her charitable giving nature and her love for her family. Anybody who knew her knew how much she loved to give back to the community. Wasn't just writing a check. It was actually giving her time. I was too young to know this or see this, but I've heard stories about how she would, donate her time at a local retirement home, washing the ladies' hair, styling them, giving them that joy in their daily life. And she also loved her family. She had a big family growing up East Texas. She didn't forget her roots. Always loved to put together family get-togethers, reunions. I remember countless weekends growing up at our lake house. Everyone was there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, people I don't even know if they were related to us, but they were all there. And she would put it all together because she knew how important a close family unit was. And we hope to bring that to Dylan and hope to let him live through her memory. And now I pass it on to Sari, who's going to talk about how he got his middle name and his Hebrew name.
I'm going to read my portion. Dylan gets his middle name from another great-grandmother, my Grandma Gert. While I never personally knew Grandma Gert, her legacy is strong, and I grew up hearing about what a special person she was. My mother described her as the nicest woman ever. Like Dylan's other namesakes, she was caring and giving and very family-oriented. Easily the matriarch of our family, she loved planning and hosting family get-togethers and holidays, events that have never truly been the same since her passing. Grandma Gert was also an extremely hard worker, spending most of her time waiting on patrons of the restaurant she owned with my grandfather. Dylan's Hebrew name is Gershon, which was the middle name as well as Hebrew name of Grandma Gert's husband, Granddaddy. Dylan's great-grandfather was a character, a former sailor who would make his tattoo of a lady dance for me by flexing his muscles, to all the turquoise jewelry he wore from the latter years of his life spent living in Arizona. He was funny and kind, and to me, larger than life. All of the wonderful traits that Mama, Grandma Gert, and Granddaddy had made them each amazing people, but combining all of their traits into one little boy is what we hope for our son, to be larger than life, kind, giving, a hard worker, and to love his family.
words. And again, you've given us a real gift today to come together to be with you and inviting all of us. We are the closest to you, and you've given us not only a real blessing, but a real treat. And now you have two beautiful sons. And we know, like those who've gone before you, the two of you, because the people you are, will raise two beautiful sons who will be extraordinary human beings and proud Jews, and will continue to do good things in this world like those they're named for. And so it's my true honor to give Dylan his Hebrew name. So Sarah and Chris, if you'll come over here, I'm going to pronounce that Hebrew name on him. And at the appropriate times, Dr. Gottesman will give him a little taste of wine. I'm sorry, it's probably Manischewitz. It's not the best.
My first sip in 10 months, so.
Yeah, there you go. So it's okay for you. And so, Dylan, we say to you these words from our tradition. Eloheinu v'lei avotenu, kayem hayel hazeh, v'le'imo v'kara shmo v'Yisrael, Gershon David, ben Sarah Michal, Yismach tegel imo v'bri v'na, kakatum yismach v'imecha v'tagel v'erotecha, v'namar v'arf alaych, v'yitbes v'veset v'damayich, v'mar lach v'damayich hayi. Do it 2 times. And v'mar lach v'damayich hayi. V'namar zachar le'om brito, daver tzivah le'elav dor, asher kratet Abraham v'sotal Yitzhak, v'yodel ha'kok Yisrael brito la, v'namar v'yamal Abraham et Yitzhak beno, v'shmanat yamin kasher tzivah oto Elohim. And please repeat after me, Hodu, Ladonai, Kito, Leolam, Chasto. And thanks to God for his good, his kindness is everlasting. Zekatana shall be known amongst the people of Israel as Gershon David, ben Sarah Michal, Gedol Yihiyeh. May he be raised by his parents to be an extraordinary human being. Kishem Shnachla Sabri, Kain Yikanes, Latorah, Chopah, Umasim Tovim. And may he be brought to a life of Torah, to the Chopah one day with all of his family at his side, and to a life of many, many good deeds. Amen. Let us say amen. Can I hold him for just a moment? Dylan, we say to you, Yesimcha Elohim ki Ephraim v'kem Menashe. May God bless you like all the extraordinary sons of the Jewish tradition, like Ephraim and Menashe. Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yinecha, Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God always bless you and keep you. May God always show you his favor and be gracious to you. May God show you only kindness and give you that blessing we all pray for this morning. That Dylan, you have a life of shalom, a good life, a precious life, a life of giving, and a life of peace. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Simen Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simen Tov, Simen Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simen Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simen Tov. Yehlanu, Yehlanu, Ruler Kol Yisrael. 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 I have a few gifts up here, a certificate and a book to mark the occasions of his life. And I'm going to call upon Miles and Bennett if you'd like to join us, and Braden if you'd like to join us. Will you all help me with the motzi?
Over here, Monty. You okay,
Do
dude,
we have
right?
other kids here? I think this is it. You
Yeah.
guys get to go to school this morning, right? Okay, y'all join me. Baruch. Hamotzi. Lechem. Min. All right. Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov, everyone.
Yeah.
You know he's not much form. It's all right.
Mazel tov, everyone.
Thank you.